Okay. Today we will learn about pure substances in the mixture. So, matter divided into pure substances in the mixture, pure substances divided into element and the compound. Mixture divided into homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. Let us start with mixture. So, mixtures or substances composed of two or more materials that are not chemically combined, and their components can be separated by physical methods. So, mixtures are substances composed of two or more materials that are not chemically combined. Mixtures components can be separated by physical methods such as filtration. If we have a mixture composed of two substances, one of them solid and the other liquid, we can separate them by filtration, like sand and water. We can separate them by filtration and magnetic separation. If we have mixtures from magnetic material and the non-magnetic material, we can separate them by magnet and evaporation and the condensation. So after that, types of mixtures. Homogeneous solution is a mixture in which components can be distinguished by the naked eye. For example, table salt solution. Table salt solution. The mixture of table salt in water is a homogeneous mixture. Its component cannot be separated can be separated by evaporation and condensation. So that a table salt solution can be separated by evaporation and condensation. And then heterogeneous solution is a mixture in which the components can be distinguished by the naked eye. So, for example, sand in water mixture, we can distinguish it by the naked eye, right? The mixture of sand in water is heterogeneous mixture. Its components can be separated by filtration. And then let's move on to pure substances. Pure substances, they are substances whose components cannot be separated by physical methods. So, and then pure substances divided into compounds and the elements. Pure substances divided into elements and the compounds. Elements, an element, it is the simplest pure form of matter, and they cannot be dissociated into simpler forms, either by physical or chemical methods. For example, oxygen molecule. Oxygen molecule comprised from two oxygen atoms, and mercury, also example of element. Molecule of an element. Molecule of an element may be monatomic, diatomic, and polyatomic. Monoatomic, mono means one. So monatomic, this element comprised from one atom, such as carbon. And di means two. This element comprised from two atoms, such as oxygen molecules. And the poly means many. So this element comprised from more than two atoms, such as ozone. Ozone comprised from three oxygen atoms. So molecules of an elements, monatomic, diatomic, and polyatomic. So after that, compounds, it is a pure substance. So compounds also pure substance. Pure substance formed by chemical combination of two or more elements. Chemical combination of two or more elements in a fixed mass ratio. For example, mercury oxide and water. So, mercury oxide, example of compound, because it's comprised from mercury and oxygen. So, we can separate mercury oxide by heating into mercury and oxygen. Let's see this video.
Mercury 2 oxide breaks down or decomposes readily when heated. If we were to weigh the compound before heating and compare its mass to that of the mercury remaining after the reaction, it would seem that decomposition causes a change in the system's mass. The product mercury would weigh less than the reactant. In reality, the decomposition liberates the reactant's oxygen atoms as gaseous dioxygen O2.
Here, when mercury oxide separate by heating, I separate into oxygen. This is oxygen molecules, and this is mercury. Okay? Let's move on to water. So water, we know about water. Water comprised from two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. So let's see this video, how separate the water into hydrogen and oxygen.
Hi guys, this is a strange looking instrument called the Hoffman voltmeter. Let's just explain it. We have a source of electricity, direct current, and we've got positive, negative terminals attached to two terminals that are inside some water with a small drop of sulfuric acid just to allow it to conduct electricity. And the electricity splits the water molecule up. We call that electrolysis, the splitting up of water. Electrolysis is the term we use for a chemical reaction induced by electricity. So the electrolysis of water is occurring. And you can see bubbles bubbling up in these two tubes. Now the tubes are there specifically to collect the gases separately. So let's have a look where the gas levels are at the moment. We've had enough gas to push this one down to there, and that's at the negative electrode. And we've had on the other side half that amount. And if you remember the formula of water being H2O, clearly this is hydrogen, and there's twice as much as the oxygen on the other side. Okay. To prove that it is hydrogen and oxygen, we're now going to ignite the hydrogen, and we know it makes that little explosion, the popping sound, and there we will see what it does to a glowing stick. So to get the gas out, I put it in a test tube, and I slowly open this, and we will see the level of this liquid go up. As the reservoir drops, it pushes down and pushes the level of the hydrogen up. There we go. So this is pretty much full of hydrogen. Now we're going to go and take it and see what happens.
This is hydrogen.
The characteristic popping sound of hydrogen exploding. On the other side, we're going to try and collect the oxygen.
The oxygen help in burning.
Right. Well, while we get that ready, let's just ignite the glowing splinter. Now I blow the splinter out, and I'm going to put it into the tube that's got the pure oxygen in. Can you see there? oxygen supports combustion, and it made it not only glow. Hi guys.
So we can separate the water components by electrolysis. So when water acidified with the sulfuric acid is subjected to electrolysis using a Hofmann voltmeter, it decomposes, separated into its elements, hydrogen and oxygen gas. Okay, so let's move on to these questions. Hydrogen is classified as an element because it cannot be dissociated into a simpler form by using the physical and the chemical methods. Water is classified as a compound because its components can be separated into oxygen and the hydrogen gases by using electrolysis. Okay? So let's review about our session. Matter divided into pure substances divided into elements and the compounds. Mixture divided into homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous. So matter divided into pure substances and mixture. Pure substances divided into element and the compound. Mixture divided into homogeneous mixture and the heterogeneous mixture. Okay. If you have any questions, send it to me on WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.